Welcome back, everyone, to Vox Markets. My name is Paul Hill, and I'm delighted again to be able to speak to CEO Bram Goorden of IXICO, a leading AI-powered medical analytics firm, a medical imaging analytics firm that helps biopharma groups develop new treatments for neurodegenerative diseases like Huntington's, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. So welcome, Bram.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, well, big congrats on today's inline first half results and positive outlook, with sales increasing 26% to £3.2 million. But before we sort of run through the details there, Bram, I don't suppose you could just quickly remind the audience exactly what IXICO does, its sort of key USPs and the sort of the broader market opportunity.
Well, I think you just said it, and you said it very eloquently, but just to sort of repeat, we consider ourselves a precision medicine company. So we've got a platform and obviously a whole team as well that helps pharma, biotechs, diagnostic companies to take these decisions around the development of neurodegenerative diseases. And we do that through imaging. So basically the analytics of images of biomarkers in that field, which in the end then also make it to the clinic with these drugs that we see, for example, in Alzheimer's now are starting to get approvals as well.
And you're the number one, I believe, in Huntington's, isn't it? Is that correct?
Absolutely. Huntington's, we've been sort of calculating that market share. We think we're sort of at that 80 or 90%. So that is not where the growth comes from, except for the fact that we very much follow that field, and that field luckily is growing as well. But as you know, and we've been here before, or I've been here before with you, our growth is very much also looking at Alzheimer's, at Parkinson's, and some of these other big challenges that we have still.
Yeah. And how's this sort of like the demand picture currently within the biopharma space for sort of like, developing the neurodegenerative diseases? Because lots of other things with obviously President Trump being inaugurated in January, there's been so much disruption, whether it be tariffs or whether it's cost-cutting measures out of Washington, particularly maybe impacting the FDA or the NIH. Is that sort of impacting at all, sort of like decision making or in the industry at all in neurodegenerative diseases?
I think it would be exaggerated to say that pharma or biotech are exempt from the impact that we see from the tariffs. And of course, everyone is sort of looking at that. President Trump did say that he was going to put levies on the pharma trade, at least, which we haven't seen yet. What I can tell, and I've spent quite a bit of time myself, actually, the past months in the US as well, is that in neurodegenerative disease, we do see that the field remains very combative. We've seen Eli Lilly, of course, a big player, where the CEO said, if tariffs are going to come, then that might have an impact on R&D. But I think that's more a warning sign to the administration, frankly, than a change. I've also been at quite a few conferences, and we actually see that the programs are keep going. And clearly for us as well, the work hasn't stopped, on the contrary.
Yeah, good. And then just if you talked about the sort of revenues going up 26%, what's sort of behind that? Which indications? Is it sort of Huntington's, Parkinson's, or Alzheimer's, or all three? What's sort of been driving that growth?
Yeah, there's actually three drivers, I would say, for the good revenues that we had. The first one is that mix of the portfolio, as you just said, which is, I think IXICO really now managed to build a portfolio within, especially Huntington's, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's is coming up. And we see that portfolio is now nicely delivering and is actually on track when it comes to revenue generation. So that is what you see. The second thing is that we actually see that within these existing programs, we've had quite a few scope extensions also these past months. And that's an interesting one, because I think it proves that our strategy of really being that specialty partner that partners together with pharma, looks at novel biomarker analytics and hence also new analyses, delivers also revenue growth, because obviously that means that the scope of existing projects is expanding and new revenue is generated. And then the third one, which has been very interesting as well, is that we actually find sort of this new segment, which we talked about, which is diagnostics, and where we see that novel biomarkers, such as the blood-based biomarkers, are seeking validation for FDA approvals. And if you are validating these biomarkers, obviously imaging is the gold standard that is required. And so we've seen how these companies actually have approached us also in those endeavors. And the good thing there is that these are actually quite short projects, nice, sweet, and short, that also deliver revenue in a short timeline. And so that's where you see that H1 revenue uptick coming from.
Yeah. Is there sort of like a goal at all to incorporate some of the sort of the the blood biomarkers for neurodegenerative diseases also into that sort of like the AI powered database, which is the imaging one that you've got?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this before. We consider that as a company, obviously, we're very much seen as an imaging company, and I think that is also our DNA, sort of intended. But we do believe that as a platform, we can also become more multimodal. Now, that is a strategy which we're building on, obviously, also together with our partners. One of our biggest partners is the Global Alzheimer's Platform, where we are that imaging vendor, supplier, if you wish, to the entire data cohort that they've been looking at. And indeed, so the first instance is happening now, which is that validation of other biomarkers and imaging. But the second stage could indeed be, what if we start to onboard some of these analytics onto our platform and we look at multimodality? And I could spend a half day with you about that. So we'll leave it to that for now.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that in a capital markets day. Just in terms of the sort of the progress on the commercialization, obviously the company raised £3.7 million net in October, I think, after last year's year end. How's that sort of commercialization process progressing, particularly in terms, I think you were going to use it for new hires and obviously doing expanding the developments and the technology?
Yeah, no. So what we did was hiring people indeed, and we laid that very clearly out. So we're on track with these hires. Some of the most important recruitments at the moment are in commercial and in what we call US footprint expansion. So the first important hire has been a head of US who is in date now, East Coast, US based, and who's heading up our commercial group. Secondly, we started to recruit more operational people, so people that actually do that end-to-end CRO service, which we're known for. But then, of course, also in the medical and in the innovation field, where, as you know, on platform, we've started to bring some new innovation. And for that, we wanted to hire new people as well. So those people have actually all come on board and are now delivering as expected.
Fantastic. Okay, good. Well, just as a summary then, in terms of sort of like the outlook for the rest of the year and also sort of closing remarks of what investors should be, to look forward to going forward. I don't suppose you can say anything at all for the outlook and sort of like, final comments?
Well, you've seen you can see the trading update, right? So we are quite confident, or we are confident that we are going to be meeting or exceeding our revenue guidance. We wouldn't say that if we didn't think that was true. So what we're going to be working on, because we know that our order book accounts already for more than 95% of the revenue. So it's not about the revenue. We know we're going to meet that, which of course is a bold statement, but I think I can stand by it. So it is very much about growing that order book, making sure that these deals which we've been going after in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, which are building now in the pipeline, are indeed also translating and converting into that order book. And then from there, it's sort of that second phase indeed of the strategy, which you already alluded to, and I'll be very happy to come back at the end of the year and give you some more details around that. Brilliant.
Okay, well, big congrats again, Bram, and very much look forward in hearing if we've got any sort of contract news at the interims, I think, which are probably towards the back end of May or early June, I'm not sure. Brilliant.
Yes, around the 20th of May, we should hear more on that.
Fantastic. Thanks very much then, Bram.
Thank you, Paul.